Sophie and K-5 at Heroes. And Lisa, middle school at Heroes.
So Lisa and Brian, you guys will probably be working together toward the back half when we start doing unit planning. And then we've got 6. How great is that? 2, 2, and 2. And so hopefully by the end of the day, we actually have 3 unit plans for quarter 2 that we can all do different grade levels and away with. Okay, so let's get into School City, and I'm just going to kind of briefly explain it because Lily joined us last week, so we're really excited to have her aboard. In a classroom, not on the stage. I went down and looked at it, and it's great. Irving has a classroom now too. He is no longer art on a cart. They put him in like this multimedia room, which is fantastic. He's struggling right now with putting stuff on the walls. You would think that'd be hard because we have so much to do, but his ceilings are literally like 20 foot high. So he's like, yeah, it does. He's like, I hung stuff up, but it doesn't look like I have anything on my walls because he just has this massive amount of space. So we're getting there. So School City is, we do a common assessment at the beginning, middle, and end of year for our 2nd and 5th grade students, and then 8th and 11th in secondary. I don't know if Diana did the School City. I can check that out, so that way you have some data to look at once you're able to get into School City. But that is something that we administer to all of our 2nd and 5th graders at the elementary level. And it's mostly based on the theory of the art. And it's a lot of teachers are using it for their evaluation rubric under their measures of student learning. You'll hear a lot of talk about MSLs. And so people are using that as kind of one of our assessments that we use for growth. So to get there, and I'm going to be saying intranet a lot because I'm still, are we starting to access that more? Okay, so I'm trying to make it a one-stop shop for everybody. So if there's something on there that you want on there, that you utilize a lot and you want me to throw up there, just let me know and I'll pop it up on there. So when you go, hi, come on in, Donna. Donna is at Goodnight. And Donna, this is Lily, she's at Morton. So my computer's been on for a long time, so my cursor has changed to this really weird box thing. But you're going to click on assessment from your Symbaloo page to get there. And to School City, you guys should know how to do that now that you've given it once. I might reset my computer. Go ahead and log in with your credentials. I'm gonna refresh here. And to look at data, the place that we're going to be living in today is reports. So up at the top, whenever I unplug, click on reports. And I'm just going to talk you through it while I restart my computer. Yeah.
I feel like she's working. I should try to come.
I've got audio on here, so.
Yeah, my dad.
I got two.
That's my email today. Okay. I'll be able to check when we get to that point. Okay, so here's the district one. So if you're needing to see what that kind of looks like district-wide. So I am looking at right now 11th grade music. So I'm going to change that. Let's see how we did 2nd grade art. We'll start there. See, I don't care about that. Okay. So we tested 608 students, and the majority partially met expectations. And for beginning of the year, that's pretty great because right now the ELA and math people are freaking out because they have big red cherries on their pie. Yeah, because they haven't learned. But see, ours scaffold, and we do, so they already have some prior knowledge. We had 4 students meet expectations, so we have to figure out soon. We're unit planning.
So you said this is all district information?
This is district. Second.
Okay.
This is second. So I'll show you 5th here. Mm-hmm.
We're still trying to find under results. Oh, sorry.
Go to report.
Test results? It's under results. And you need to change, click on that, and you need to change the oh, and your year.
So 5th grade, we tested 839 students, and the majority of students partially did. Because we've only had art in elementary schools. This is what, year 2? We had 35 kids that exceeded expectations and 91 that met. So we have 15% of our kids that are on it already as far as like the theory of the art, right? Not the demonstration of, which might be the same, it might look different. We don't know that because we haven't collected data on that yet. But so that's something to think about is those kids that have exceeded. We were talking about this in the MSL PD last month. With the kids that are already there, what do we do with them? We don't ignore them. So what do we do with them to grow? So just a thought. But what I think is great too is in that 5th grade, look at that percentage. 4% of our kids, only 35 of them did not meet. That's fantastic. Anybody else need the sign-in sheet? So let's take a look at 8th grade, since we have middle school here. Now remember, we're testing level 3, right? Level 3 8th graders. So typically these are the students that are not taking, they're not 8th grade taking art for the first time. They've had art before. But look what's going on here. The vast majority are partially met, and then your second biggest color is yellow. So they're moving. For the sake of time, I won't show high school because we don't have any high school folks here. Bummer. So when you go through this now, I'm not going to spend time with this one because this is more really, I'm going to let you have, this is something that you would do on your own. So in the next tab, click on student response. So if you want to see how a particular kid did, this will show you. So it's, and mine doesn't scroll all the way when I plug it into this projector. I don't know why. Yours should scroll. So you take, let's say, Melanie here in grade 8. She was approaching. You can scroll through and see everything that she chose and which questions she got wrong. So if you want to dig into the data that deeply, go for it. But that does take, that takes time. Or maybe if you have a concern about, maybe you have a really high kid that did really poorly on this assessment. You can look and see what was going on. If you had a kid that everybody says, oh, they're low in everything, and they got met or exceeded, this might be able to kind of give you an idea of what's going on.
You may explain this in a minute, but you can show us how many missed certain questions. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. And that's, so as a district, we don't really need to go through, you need to know that it's there in case you want to look at your kid, your particular kid. Let's play in standard analysis tab. You just have to scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, and I do that, I mean, as far as I'm trying to the specific one, I can get out of it.
Go all the way up to the top and then the close button. Just out of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
So in the standard analysis, the first thing that you'll see when you scroll down, which I like better than the individual data, is this nice little bar graph. So of the standards that are covered, so right here, this first one. So visual art, 7th grade standard, standard 4, grade level expectation 1, evidence outcome C. For those of you who are new to our standards, that's how they're arranged. So there's grade, standard, GLE. So in this one here, 55% of our students got that standard correct. There was one question on that standard on the top. So that's what the N equals. How many questions? So like this one here, 811B, there were 3 questions that had to do with that standard. What I like about the graph is that it's a quick visual way for you to see what standards maybe your kids are doing well at already or if they're struggling. So if I'm looking at this, I say, okay, 822C, whatever that is, 8% correct rate in the average in the district. So I could even, in School City, hover over it, and that gives you a standard of the description. So it says, what that standard is, but it also says items at the bottom, and that one says 12. And question number 12 is that standard. For ones that have more questions, like 813, that one addresses 7, 8, and 19 on the test. I really like that graph. And if you want to scroll down, then it'll be by students. That just from what this one is here, the first standard 741C. It was just one question, so it's either going to be 100% or 0. But Melanie's got that standard. So if you want to do it by student, you can. Again, that's very time consuming. The graph you see, it's not a district graph on yours. to your school. So yours will not look like mine. So I'm going to let you, I'll give you about 5 minutes with that graph. I really like this category.
So some of these other questions, I know what you mentioned, or if you have a look at different question, because you see that from the enrolled ones.
Yeah, it doesn't have that much weight.
Yeah. You want the ones that have multiple choice.
We did all the classroom. So that's kind of, that's what we, so sharing this thing. So that's
I, the city came in and did the test for me. They had to require. So I only had like 7 students that actually could take the test. Out of like 120 I have. Because they had part for the last 3 years. I was taking the test.
so they probably have a lot of last years.
No, it's just equipment.
Yeah.
What she had to do is we had to go narrow down the kids that we had marked for me the last 3 years, 7th and 8th grade.
My question open. You have just the test in general. I guess, I know I was hoping, right?
No, mine was only 2, but it was last 3 years. That's she. We emailed back and forth. No, yeah, not just technology, but you just trying to find data science.
Then maybe that means we've just done it. Like we had to see item number 1.
Yeah.
So it was a basic test.
So she came and did it. So I'm fighting 6 kids. Fighting. That's what the rest of the class. That have been any art force. Because sometimes I get kids that have art in 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, 9 years. That class.
So
It's hard.
we have 10 questions on one standard.
That's why you go back and get in here and go over all of the basic stuff.
One question.
They do. Schedules, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love question 1 and there's no change. So I just look for question number 1 and there's okay. And yeah, so see, I was about one time right. So it would be, but as soon as I see that, I'm like,
It was just a schedule.
but then since it says in general standard, maybe that's okay. But then I think about the test as maybe like that 2 times a week. We really don't want 2 questions on one standard and 1 question on the other. We want to think about how we design the test.
Yeah, it's 6, 7, 8, 5 times a week, but it's straightforward. It switches every day.
Yeah, see, and we switch every, we switch.
7th grade needs my 7th and 8th grade needs.
Okay, so it sounds like you're all done playing with that tab. I'm going to skip the feedback cards because I don't really find them all that relevant. But those are, if you want to print these out too, you can give these little cards to your kids. Whether that's helpful to them or not, the way it's set up, I don't know, unless they have the test in front of them, the feedback cards really aren't useful. Although, if you say, Melanie, you spent 12 seconds on this question. Really? You know, or if you get a kid who finishes the test in 4 minutes, let's have a conversation about that, you know? That's in the feedback cards. Item analysis, this one goes through each question. Here's why I like this one. So it has the standard. It has the item number. So if you click on the item number, you can see the question. So, for example, this one here, the pitch below lighter areas look closer. This is due to the element of value. So you can go through and say, of my district-wide, this would be your kids on your tab, almost 60% of kids got that right. Cool. That's fantastic, right? But what happens when only 28% get it right? What happens? So you could question. This is tricky. And you'll see why the majority of people that missed it hit A. But it's symmetrical in color. Right? So you can see, so that would be a conversation because you can see percentage of kids that guessed which choice. So that way you can have a conversation with your class about why A isn't correct.
I can get on the district and still see those.
No, I only have
as a teacher.
I only have district access. I'm the one that has district access. So teachers only have teacher access.
So I wouldn't be able to see it because my kids didn't take it.
Correct. Now you can still do it if you want to do middle of year. You would only have growth data from middle to end then. And this is good too. You can say average time spent on the question. So like this, and when we get back together at the end and say, how can we make this test better? Because we're going to do that every year, right? What do we need to change? Whether it's wording or the choices or whatever we need to look at. Because this one only 16, 82% of them got it right. So maybe this question's a little too easy. I don't know.
How did you click on it to get the question?
On the number. It says item number, the first column.
First thing.
But this is nice to easily scroll down. Like you can see really quick what your low ones are too. If you want to say, okay, that's 27.9, so let's take a look at that one. You know? So I like this one coming through. Do you guys like some time with this one? About 5 minutes to just look at, take a look at the item analysis section.
When we get into anything else, like I click on it, I just get the wheel of doom. That wheel, it just keeps on spinning and spinning. I logged out 3 times.
One tablet.
So it's an iPad.
Well, yeah, iPads.
It's like that.
Yeah, iPads don't like any of it just flash or, you know.
I like this stuff better too. Yeah, or like,
Yeah. Circus.
yeah.
Yep, every
You can sort. So if you want to sort by percentage correct or percentage incorrect.
My kids are met approaching and exceeding.
And again, most of them, realistic. But we didn't get any people that don't know. Some of them, yeah, because they started arguing this year. And then our teacher before you,
Maybe a good question. This is the first one with
They're
others.
partially met.
Others. So I'm guessing that question was skipped. So if you have any,
Oh.
yeah, like on what they chose.
Oh, yeah.
Usually what the other
Yeah.
categories, so,
There's a little bit of
I'm guessing
Didn't answer it at all.
they didn't answer it at all. There's no other question I can think of. Hey, we're
Well,
digging
and maybe
into
they
so
ran
many
out of
data.
time, because that's the last on hers, that was the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was simply they ran out of time.
Yeah, they could have run out of time, or if they just didn't know, they just skipped it.
That was your only one.
Or they skipped it because they didn't feel like doing it.
Eastern art in second grade. That the picture was on and then
Was the picture just too large? What number was that? Oh, that was the Eastern art, number 13? Because I can adjust that. And I can adjust that before the middle of the year test, because that's not changing the content of the test. Oh, they changed it. And you know, that might be good too. If you had, you could even look student-wise, if the student has a lot of others, that's a conversation that you have with that student too. If you think it's not because they don't know, it's because they're just not doing it, that can be a conversation to have with that student then. Because you have proof now. They thought they got away with it. Right. Yeah, that it's there. Right. And then, okay, so let's move to the second to last tab, because you guys might want to play with this for a little while. This is demographics profile. So you can check how your kids did based on a certain demographic. So by gender, by ESS, by GT, by English language learner. That's really kind of fun to play with. It's under special education. So right now I'm in the 8th grade test, because that's just what I defaulted to. And I can tell you that our females did slightly better. That's typical, right? Uh-huh. And what we found in music, I'm going to look here, and I bet I find the same thing. As music is universal, and it can be understood by everything, by anybody. Art, I think, is very much the same way. And take a look at your English learners in 8th grade. They scored the exact same than your non-English language learners. I'm interested to see if special education is the same way.
Well, that's interesting too, because like in Park, they do the same thing when they're analyzing scores to see which subgroups of students, how they did. So then you can kind of see here if that matches what Park is saying about your kiddos as well.
Right. Now in 8th grade, so the special education, the special needs kids, they scored about 3 percentage points, 2.5 percentage points lower. That's not a big gap, right? We didn't test as many 8th graders. We tested 600 5th graders, right? So that might be a better,
When we're on English learner, I just put mine on English learner, it says filter, no, yes. So no means they're not an English learner, yes means they are an English learner, that's all that means.
yep, that's all that
I'm
means.
just making sure that I understood that no, yes thing. And that's what we're looking at.
Uh-huh.
mine only says no.
So I mean,
So you didn't have any English language learners in that category?
us all of the assessments on what they did. So that gives you sort of a reflection piece as far as, okay, across the board, your partially not meeting or the meeting or whatever. So you can see that when the kids are within at the top, which is cool, because each one will tell, you know, okay, I know what it does, and things like that. So.
This one's interesting. This is 5th grade. This is 5th grade special needs. So this was their average raw score, which may not tell you a whole lot, but what I look at too is that in the partially met, 61.7% are partial. That's pretty darn good. Now their second highest, and we didn't really have any, we had very small and approaching, but you had a bigger number of kids who did not meet the expectations, who scored red, than their non-ESS peers. But what that's saying is that they can run with the best of them, because art and the arts are things that everybody can succeed in. And the test doesn't look any different for ESS kids.
As far as the whole reading the test thing goes, where did we end up on?
So for 2nd grade, or for in general, so it has text to speech. It does have that. The kids would need to be trained on how to use that. We tried using it in Sophie's class, and what you have to do is highlight what you want read to you. So what I did is I said, oh, okay. So I highlighted the question and all the answers, and it read it, but very quickly. What element of line is being discussed in here? A line, C, B form, C color, D shape. Like a 2nd grade kid can be like, oh, what? So if you want to use the text to speech option, you would just highlight things one at a time. So highlight the question and have it read to them. Then you can highlight A, the choice A, if they need that read to them. Because if you do it all at once, it's just going to read it with no periods.
Now, what we did at our schools, we just followed whatever accommodation they already had documented that they were allowed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And we just sent them to test just like they would have normally tested any other time.
Mm-hmm.
And just followed whatever accommodation they had on like proctor units.
Okay.
We didn't use the text to speech thing if they were allowed to have it read to them for 5th grade. Then we followed that accommodation. For 2nd grade, we tested everybody at the same time and we read the question.
That's what Sophie did too, and I think that works best.
And for 2nd grade,
Mhm.
I would read the question and then I would read the responses. And when you're done, put your hand on your head. Okay, everybody's done. Next question. And we went one at a time through all 2 grades at the same time.
And that seems to work. You know, and they'll get better. They'll get better at it. Like your 2nd graders who maybe are extended and can do it on their own. They can be in an area where they can just go through the test. But remember that 2nd graders do use School City, but I think the art exam and the music was the first time they'd kind of done School City. So middle of the year now, they're going to be more familiar with what it looks like, and they'll just get better.
And then are we still at the end, for the end of the year, middle of the year and end of the year, do we still want to test our 2nd graders the same all the way and still read it to the middle of the year and still use it at the end of the year?
It depends. It depends on, we're not as standardized where we have to follow these rules or it's not valid. So you know your kids, if they're reading and you can do that, then let them do it on their own. If you still need to read it to them, do it. You're not going to get any. And that's, I think, what we need to look at the end. So we need to make it language.
For me, what I would do with my 2nd graders to be consistent, I'm going to read it to them every time. Because some of the questions have like the artist names in the question, have the titles of the word in the question, and that's not important to the fact. That's not really important to the question because the question is not asking them about the artist.
Mhm.
They're gonna get hung up on trying to read the artist's name, they're gonna get hung up on trying to read the title of the work, and they're not gonna get to the actual question and it's asking about the color or something.
Right, and I think that's the biggest revision that we're gonna need to make at the end, is just making, for music too, is making the second grade test more kid-friendly language, yeah.
Yeah, because no.
Right.
So that's why I think for this year, especially middle year, I'm gonna be reading to myself.
Well, not only that, but it should be lower than maybe a second grade reading level for the beginning of the year.
Well, we have to keep it the same all the way through, and I don't mind making it less the whole way through to kind of address everybody, but to show accurate, to make the test valid, we would need to keep the test the same all year long. But yeah, the language would definitely have to be first grade, maybe as close to first grade, second grade reading level that we can get.
What are the dates for the mid-year window?
The mid-year window is going to be 2 weeks before break and 2 weeks after break. So from that beginning December to mid-January. Yeah, winter break. Winter break. Mhm. Yep. And we did this primarily for music folks because some are really concert heavy right before break and some aren't. So figure give you guys some flexibility there. Okay, so at your tables, we've got about 13 minutes before we move on. We might even be running ahead of schedule. We'll see. Just have a discussion about we're going to do some pre-planning here for our unit planning. So now that you have the data, what do you do with it? What specific evident outcomes are your students struggling with that you're going to want to incorporate in your unit plan for next quarter, next unit? And then how do we get those met and exceeded kids to grow? Because we don't want to just keep them where they're at. Okay, so just some discussion items, and then that can morph into whatever your table wants to discuss on that. But now that you have the data, what do you do with it? What specific evidence outcomes are your students struggling with? And then how are you going to show growth with your met and exceeded kids? And make them maintain. So we don't want the met and exceeded kids to be approaching at middle of year, right? So I'll let you guys talk about that in 10 minutes. Okay.
When is break?
See, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Because they're just like so gone. When they come back, they're kind of like ready. So I'm like, my kids are really not. That's what my lessons are. Well, I'm going to play bingo. You know, well, see, so then you might be competing. I have to ask her son. Because that's a lot of she didn't extend it.
Yeah.
Because they were.
That's why I started email. Yeah. My they're best marks that first week.
See, I can't because, you know, they have the hardest and they use the hardest You know, and then it's for me, I think about, you know, that's kind of one thing which is very weird, those items. You know, and being able to click on those items and see what those questions are. And be able you know, somebody else. Yes, yeah, I told them because yeah, well, I know he was our student because he talked about what did I talk about? The smellies. And that's Donna. That's Donna. I'm so glad that you mentioned teachers. I mean, he just jumps in. He jumps in. What and they did Greek art. Cool. That's cool. Yeah. We have Mondays and always just look like this. And as I mean, they're doing undergrad and the teachers saw all the videos and stuff focused on grad students to make sure to write like a giant research paper. We didn't sit there with the standards and then make it push, which is like it needs to be. We did it with so now we have reading content we're looking at. I did my master's and then let's do the and the integrated art. We did it the opposite of how we did it. That's what you did your master's. No, my master's. Cambridge, Massachusetts. And what they do is they do like a cohort. I believe they send it to they send out information and we make it out for teachers. Then they start. I'm already on they would send the instructor to us, which was kind of weird.
a lot of their instructors come from advanced. So they would come, it was like we meet one. That's what I said. Every third week. And we go Friday from like 5 to 10, and then Saturday from 8 to 5. And then Sunday from like 8 to 5. And each class was two classes long. So we get our instruction on the first weekend. Next weekend, we would give instruction. A lot of so much was writing. Just so it was a lot of projects. You know, this first this goes is good. So she's even if you're not at least one high school. And now, this 2 years. And so we have a silence and I'm working in college and doing I'm just thinking I gotta go home and do it before I even understand. And I'm gonna try to graduate. That's how it's not a master's, it's I need to get that is correct. As well. I'm really confused about buying credits from extra. I get confused about even and you go in there and you just do it. You get on your professional development and then you see which ones are
Yes, that,
which ones you can apply. And then you
university credit,
don't have on there. That's my first thing that I know like what is it? More
yeah, something like that, yeah.
and on the other one. This one has like a column on there that says county to university credit, and then some cannot.
That one didn't have that.
So I'm thinking, that's cool, because you know what I had to do is I read my practice.
Yeah.
I think so. This is right here. It's kind of waiting for them somewhere. Oh, that's no, it's not just that. Credit.
Yeah, I was back in the early September.
I have to wait until the spring.
So you said I applied.
Yeah, there was a column on there, so, and that's what I was wondering, if I could just, if they could just put it up. Instead of me having to take something in there.
I showed it, I mean, like, she was already, she showed it to somebody else. Did not show her. And I showed it to friends of mine as well, which I first time.
That's right.
I think it was, I guess, and my older son.
Years.
Okay, there was no other, it's just.
That's about $50 for credits in districts.
Two classes, so the mentor. I
So revolving. So the okay, cross today. Many from the election. So you have the because I haven't heard anything. It's second. I was there before last year. Yeah. I have no idea. All I know is we're supposed to go to a meeting and some teachers got out of it. I don't know how they did it. Finagle deal or something. When you have to do their second. One of them is a teacher, American teacher. She's been teaching for 10 years. Through Teach For America. So I don't know if she has something where I think she's one of those people that's like, fight for it, you know. So she had her director call them. Oh yeah. So it's like okay. She had speaking. Yeah. She had her director call Teach For America. So I think they're and then there was another teacher, the art teacher. We had this whole big investigation on our school. She called them and then they said, "There's no way you can get out of this." So we have to homework. Book reading. So that kind of really just.
Yeah, yours is right. For a 7-year-old.
I don't know. So that's what you ended up shooting. She's like, obviously people from this. There's like 10 of us. There's like 10 of us. Yeah. You guys went out. We had yeah. So all of us who are here second year, you know, it's just like, how do you go back?
Yeah, no, I saw it like motions all of a sudden like here, it's like what happened there?
Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. And I generally as long as I can have a
well, there's 2 weeks, right? So you're going to write just like certain things and then go in.
just because
I'm kind of sad about
it's I don't know. You know, and the reason
classroom teacher. I've done it more times.
you know, we're talking about.
Guess what? It's really good. Yeah, I'm waiting for the grant.
And once she offered the money last year, it was amazing.
I just waited for the money at the end. But yeah, no, but I didn't find much as kids. So apparently she applied for it.
Yeah, I heard that,
And she said, I'm going to ask her to come up and conversation. And I'm trying to flavor, but the district they said it was not a
It's not as good.
And it was like, yeah, it was like, so I got on their list, devices. It was like $300. It was like, look, I paid for this iPad. I was like, no. So then she's email, okay. So then I sold my other one.
Nice.
I bought it. Yeah. And it sold right away too. And it was a classroom teacher, but I didn't buy it. It sold. It's like, boxes open. I tried to look up, you know, we're lucky. That's all the use it got. So, and I was kind of just.
I'm hesitant to use it because my room's like, my room's an L shape. No kidding, it's like this. I have tables here and I have two tables here, so when you look at projections.
So for those of you who might be listening to my voice right now, I just want to put this out there. Please share this with your colleagues because not a lot of people know yet. A lot of people, you know, they want to go to CAEA. CAEA is expensive, right? Because you pay registration, you have to be a member, a hotel. Under the Every Student Succeeds Act, which was signed into law in December, which is now federal law, which replaces No Child Left Behind. Title I money, Title II money, which is professional development, can now be used for art as part of the well-rounded education component of ESSA.
So we can.
Please approach your principal and say, you know, can you help with this? Because they may not know that these funds can be used for something now other than ELA and math. But if you go forward, then we're not enough funds, and now she can from another place.
But there was another one that was in Denver that was 16. Yeah, the 360.
Oh, I know, I'm crazy. Yeah, but we don't have any CT kids. Okay. I've been at Tesla.
Yeah, that's a stipend.
It is. I have a stipend. You don't have to have testing. Well, we have tested this year. I have a stipend last year. Last year I didn't have it. But the kid tested in the second grade. So this year I had 2 teachers that did the test for, and then second, I think there's two. So
See, you can took it last year. I don't know. To me, I don't know what that was.
I saw this technology conference several times before the district was.
So last year,
applied to be, I applied to be a member and they accepted me as a membership, so I got my membership. And they're like, okay, so I got the free membership, it's like around $50 or $75 to get a membership. So I just did the application, I just did an application and requested.
so legislative, and they got one
And they gave me a free application.
call that good.
And then they said, so now you're going to be able to apply as a member. Then I looked at the price, and I was like,
sometimes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Also, so
Do something.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Yeah.
You know, and then I don't
Here today.
It doesn't seem like it works so much.
It seems kind of like, I know we have to do the testing, I know we have to do this stuff. I don't know when I will put it in the schedule.
Yeah, see,
But
but
it's,
ours, we have to have this.
I have a couple customers that
We had this really cool activity where they had to them over. And it's like, markers, she's great to it, and it like hopped around. And set it with like a counterweight, so it could make a smoother design versus a hoppier.
That's awesome.
Random versus like a curved line.
See, and I was at middle school, because
I have like 10 kids.
yeah, I don't think we have.
This is
That's what I was like. Other parents,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have some teachers.
So
because we gotta figure out whether these kids are actually using it or whether our kids are super loved, or they're actually at home and we think they're doing it.
Because it is.
They might just be at a hospital.
Like where you look at our scores.
Probably my scores, so you know, because there's any public school city,
They're. You look at the class report. And then you get
she said, maybe the lady who was teaching last year was Hauser. She has ESS kids.
Oh, yeah.
And she has a couple of them that are twins. She wants to handle them, which I think is good. They're ESS but they're super, super good. So she handles these kids. And some of them are, some of those kids are just so great. In fact, I just had and she said, I want.
We had a lot of our teachers there. I mean, there was
probably because she knows that it's just going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to be a bigger issue.
Seriously, I was like, no way, 5th grade.
Fifth grade. Well, that's what it was. My kids now, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's like, like,
Yeah.
so it's like, I feel bipolar.
Yeah.
You know, like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll have to do an exhibit metrics. So the thing's gonna be my exhibit metrics right to 60 things.
This time,
Oh, wait, no, my majority of, yeah, I'm in the color theory. Yeah, I'm doing that. And then I'm doing this too.
And I'm doing the self-portrait.
Oh, great.
So I'm doing self-portrait.
I think because,
And I'm doing color theory.
whenever there's a majority wrong, it's.
I was thinking I even color theory with
And
hair.
you're saying is these second grader responses.
That doesn't tell me
Because when you do individual and collective.
She said if I did,
Or if you want to do collective.
I did. She told me,
And
just
So all of them, like, both of them.
for all my kids to take.
Because maybe discipline, right? Individual is like individual.
Okay, so the second portion will hopefully also help you.
When we get into the unit planning part,
For those of you who weren't here for the end of year meeting last June,
I had teachers fill out slips of what PDs you would like to see for the following year. And a lot of feedback I got was, help us with technology apps and getting technology into our classrooms. What are some cool things? So I wanted to incorporate that in this year. And so what we're going to do is, this really is a work time for you all to share what you have used in your classroom, what you found is cool, what is useful. And then I have, for this little mini session, I have an exit ticket for the mini session. It says, today I discovered the following apps that would be useful in my classroom. And it's got 3. I would like this back because I'm going to put it on the intranet. So that way you guys can have a bank of resources. Before we get going, I have a few of my own that I found that I thought might be useful to visual art. So if you would please get into the intranet, the Fine Arts intranet page. So you'll click on Department Intranet Site, Learning Services, and Fine Arts. If you haven't bookmarked this page yet, I highly recommend it. Once you get to the Fine Arts page, click on Instructional Materials on the left-hand side, and I have the technology resources listed right there.
Is it Internet Learning Services and then Fine Arts?
Yes. So I'll just kind of go through just what I chose and why I chose it, and if it's useful for you, great. If not, well, just smile anyway. I don't know. They're all interactive links, except for apparently this one that I just clicked on. It's Google Art Project, so I'm just going to go straight there. So if you just go to googleartproject.com. This is a way to get into museums. And you can do like a walkthrough of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You can see certain things. GoogleArtProject.com. Yeah, Google Art Project. You can look at different works. So for example, let's say we are looking at Van Gogh. I'm sure he's in our scope and sequence somewhere, right? I'm going to guess. And let's say you want to talk, we're talking still life. I'm just going to show you just some kind of interesting things about what this does. So let's say you want to explore the sunflowers painting. you can zoom the image, which doesn't make it that much bigger until you go over here. So if you want to get into, I mean, and it's like billions of pixels. So the quality on here is amazing. You can go in, if you want to talk about technique and brush stroke, which is really cool. Let's see if I can find the one I'm looking for. I don't know if I can. Now, if you want to go into, let's say you want to go into the Museum of Modern Art. Here's the Starry Night. You can zoom into that. It's really cool. If you want to go into the Museum of Modern Art, well, welcome to the Museum of Modern Art. And then you can click around. This is out, it'll move you this way. So you can actually walk through, and they've got, you know, they've got art museums from all over the world here. Let's make it very interactive, because you know our kids, more than likely 90% of our kids will never step foot into an art museum like this. So this gives them the opportunity to actually do that. So there's a lot of stuff to play with on there, but I just wanted to let you know that it's out there. iPad art room I found. Why are these links not working? I'll have to check the links. It's iPadArtRoom.com. And I just did the whole website because there's a lot in here as well on how to incorporate iPads into your classroom. So if you go in, it says some of our favorite lessons. It says art apps and ideas. And so if you want to do kaleidoscope creations, there's how you can do that using iPads, digital drawing, laser etching, light painting, Picasso portraits. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's just some really great ideas. Claymation, if you guys want the technology, right? Mixing, making, and mashups. This is like very much like something we would use in our anime unit. Okay. I highly doubt this app will work, but I will try it. Oh, it worked. Art prompts. So these are good. I found these are good bell ringers. If you want to create an art prompt, artprompts.org. So if you want to get an art prompt, I want to read. So this one and it automatically generates. So if you don't like the prompt, just refresh. But for now, we won't. So character is that stuffy girl who is always the center of attention. And then you draw. And it just has, I mean, it's incredible just if you want to do a situation. This one may not be appropriate for elementary because he uses a swear word, but I blocked that damn creeper in the face. I mean, can you imagine how great this would get to get the creative? And it's so outside the box of typical thinking that it'll really get your kids going.
Or even if you wanted to partner with the language arts teacher and they do the writing prompt.
Oh, absolutely.
Do the illustration.
Writing on a paper airplane. Well, that would be more appropriate for little kids, right? But I mean, how many different ways can you do that? I liked that one. Because we're always looking for bell ringers, right? How do we get the kids? while you're getting supplies ready, what can the kids be doing so they're learning as soon as they walk in the door? Right. And then the Museum of Modern Art has an art lab app. And you can find it on the MoMA page, but I think you have to have an iPad and actually download the app. And it just allows kids to draw, and it gives them a whole bunch of different tools with like paint or drawing or whatever. So I would love to show you that, but I don't, because it's an iPad app. Maybe if somebody brought an iPad, they can check it out. It's an app. It is an app. There's a process.
This particular app put onto your and I'm not, you have to just request that be done in the, if they approve the app. You just don't want the app to use it for, saying, I want this done. And then if they.
So here's just, I like YouTube because it's tutorials. Let's see if I can turn it up.
The new MoMA Art Lab app for the iPad inspires creative play and invites a closer look at works from the Museum of Modern Art's collection. Play with shapes, lines, and colors. Create something, make a design, draw, or just experiment. Check out the Ideas section for some extra inspiration. You can do more than make art with MoMA Art Lab. Explore the artwork and process of artists like Elizabeth Noe and Henri Matisse through fun activities. Make sound poems, bend, drop, down. Chance collages. Group drawings, and more. Save artwork in your gallery and share it with friends and family.
This is a really great way for them to share their artwork with their parents.
MoMA Art Lab, inspiring all ages and available now in the App Store.
So I thought that was interesting. I also, under technology resources, I put a couple of classroom management apps because I know that can be a challenge, no matter what school you're at or hands classroom management. Dojo is free. If your school uses clip ups and clip downs, Class Dojo is primarily geared toward elementary folks, but like if you use clip up and clip downs and colors, this allows you to do that individually, and the parent can sign up to put the Class Dojo app on their phone. And so like my son is doing it this year, and I can go in and see what he clipped up for and what he clips down for every day. So put files, like this is what we worked on today, or if you have something, a project that you want the parents to know about, you can put it in Class Dojo, and the parent just goes right to the app and can see what you've put in. So it's interesting. It would take some time because it'd be time consuming to set up, but I think once you got the hang of it, could be a really cool tool, especially if your parents never show up for parent-teacher conferences and you never get to see them. This might be a way to communicate because they all have smartphones, right? And then bouncy balls, I like just for bouncyballs.org. Especially in an art classroom, when you let them go and say, okay, get to work, how do you control the noise level without having to say quiet down every 3 seconds? So go for it. If you're talking, oh wait, I gotta turn on the microphone here. If you get too loud, the ball will bounce. Right? So if you have, right? You can.
I know, right?
It gets really busy when you pick the emojis. It's kind of. For your ADHD kids, they might get a little overwhelmed with the emojis.
I used one called Too Noisy. It has some kind of content.
And that takes time, right? So yeah, in elementary school, when you first show them this, that's what they're gonna do is like, I wanna see how loud I can get, so how high the balls will bounce.
So the way you do that is you let them. Like we started getting loud to build it. So then you would do it and you let them.
Yeah, because look at what we did. We're grown ups.
Yeah.
What did I do when I showed that to you? Y'all started yelling, right?
That's just like the free exploration. Whenever you hear about materials, you just want to be free explore first. With this, it'd be like a free explore first.
And it's a good way for our visual kids to kind of self-check and hold themselves accountable instead of us saying, okay, the volume's at a 4, we need to be at a 1, or whatever it is they can watch that.
I use it to when they were practicing the labs right next door. And even after practicing, they're like, "Are you gonna put on Too Noisy?"
They like it. Yeah, they like it. So we have about 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes for this. So what I'd like you guys to do, from the agenda, I said bring some things with you. So talk with your table and share some apps that you have found useful or technology tools. It doesn't have to be an app, it could be a website or whatever. And I'll bring the extra tickets around for this particular piece. So if you see something that you like, write it down because I'm going to want that. And I'll put it on the internet site as a useful technology tool. So about 23 minutes for this one. I'll leave the eyeballs around.
My kids love it because they were especially when it's and so I put Too Noisy and it's like a meter and the sun gets like mad if it gets too loud. And so they were on all the time. That would be cool. There's a way to switch it. I would rather have it. And then we can sit down to you when they're quiet. Yeah. 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 The other way is because they want to see the so we're going to see, and my kids had so they're doing there's got to be a way to maybe switch it. In the mode.
Oh, yeah, there they do.
That would be good. Well, so see, and the two it's kind of cool. Yeah, that would be that's a good thing.
And it's really great. Right now they're just getting ready to do their conference.
Right, oh, that's super easy.
Yeah, with the sun. Yeah, and then if the sun gets like gets to the red. And you can that one's cool because you can adjust the volume sensitivity. So and it has like for like no, it's on one class free. So if you can adjust it, so if you're like doing projects, then the microphone's kind of it's a little less sensitive than if you're doing a test. You can set it for your setting. So if you do a test,
and it says introduce it.
Yeah. So see, and I can't get this one to load because I found this one. Yeah, sensitivity, so you could do like, okay, if they're doing projects, that's less sensitive. You can adjust how much percentage. So if you have a test, the test will be like super.
There you go.
That's good.
Yeah.
So that's $2.99.
Oh, no.
That's
Yeah.
right
It's
here.
the free one. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun. What's the other one?
Too noisy light.
This one's cool because you can change the little things. Like I like the levels.
The Too Noisy app has been around on the iPad, iPhone, and Android devices for a while now. It has been helping teachers in the classroom in a fun and engaging way in thousands of schools around the world for some time. We are really excited to announce the free online version of the app on your PCs, Macs, interactive ways. The added convenience of having it available right inside your Google Chrome or Opera web browser. In order to make sure the app works for teaching, please note the following.
Yeah.
Make sure you use Google Chrome or Opera web browsers.
So my kids would be like, so I have like a letter system where I have 3 letters and they leave a letter. So if it got onto red,
Make sure you use the
so most people, I'd be like, oh, it's turning yellow. Really quiet. And they work really well. Works really well.
I've been teaching some and I've done some
I know.
and it's amazing, but you're right, I'm trying to teach them the students.
It's got a damn
So like, you know, doing the group projects are working, but they need to land. I like that part is a little bit better because some kids.
Like special, but they're yeah. Well, and then not only that, that to me is more negative reinforcement because they're gonna want to be more versus a positive reinforcement where if it's quieter, the bounce is gonna be bouncing. And then if it's noisy, they stop bouncing. So then it would be more positive reinforcement to get to bounce.
It has a mode on it. I wonder if you can.
The mode is your plastic. That's your plastic emoji bubbles. Now the bubbles isn't. They start at the top and kind of come down. I don't know, but you can add bubbles too, or take them away.
I like that, I like the happy face, like, let's talk about feedback. Yeah, like if he's giving you angry eyebrows, you're just gonna hide.
The sun is bad.
Yeah.
I realized next last year, it's not gonna work. And then testing, so now I realized like the first step everyone said it was too much. I could take one kid and just
To access right away, just click on the button.
The one that is AMSCU.
Google Chrome or Opera web browsers for the app to work. The
nice presentation.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And so for 150 kids, so you've got
So is it gonna be on my desktop? It should, I can bookmark it, I just bookmark it. And then I can put it on, and then on my laptop, and I just go hit it. And everyone has something, and then it starts working.
No, I know I can. That's what I'm trying to
Like, you're too noisy. And then you set it, you set it all the way to the top. So sensitivity, so dampening, so I think it has something to do with music, so I think it has something to do with like, if you feel like you want to let it influence, so the sensitivity works that way too. Yeah. Well, I had it go to red. What happens when you talk this loud? Loud. Where's your microphone? Hello. Yeah, it's one for each class. By the end of the year,
Don't forget to fill out your little exit ticket as you see some cool things
to do it to be so great. Missing the calendar.
Yeah, I did. I designed this as my teacher too. So we need to prepare. I'm taught it this summer. You have one. And then we want to meet how that. And
Wait, where are we?
oh, you just kind of. I was going to no, not really. Basically, and then you get all the. Yeah, there's like two. Well, that's so I can make that as easy. They get their so I can and then it's just show so now I've got two classes that
This here, Maddie and Donna. That's the one that I was using. Yeah, they're so cool. Oh, there's Lindsay. Because I feel like with this is that Because I like to have a they get it, and you, it's very, I have like a good thing, but look at the rainy day. Is that, so it's like these two little characters, and I go back in time, and then I go back to and there's definitely see, I'm doing this with my high school right now, and they got and they traced the circle for the CD and they made an eyeball. And it's the one on the eye, and then it's like, you know, what I decided to do was talk about surrealism, and they had to do a piece of surrealism art in the eyeball. Oh, so they could come up with their own surrealism art on it.
I did sort of art with that, drawing hands.
How'd you do it? How did you do it?
Just incorporate that hand inside the drawing. Something, hand or something,
I use
I do too.
For instance, I have kindergarten, right? So I have different boards set up kindergarten, and then I just have a bunch, whatever I like. See, that's stuff that I've done with, like last year. I like it. I can't understand.
What?
In fact, I just did this with John
I
Merrill.
might get,
I did this with
So do I, but I started.
See, and I did the John Merrill with kindergarten. So it's cool because kindergartners want to draw your
if you go to your
people.
person, if you go to person there, not your person, it goes to your boards.
Oh, okay.
Or you can just type in like the title of your voice. And so,
Yeah.
you know, like mine, you know, that was kindergarten, so I have first grade.
Yeah, there's so many ideas on there.
I have it broken down by grade level. See, first grade, see, there's my boards right there. There's boards right there. See, so there's my first grade art. See, my name on Pinterest is Donna Cole. See, so I just tap on it. And it brings up
Oh, I like the owl.
that's a penguin.
Oh.
Yeah, because I did a union on the penguins last year. So that's, I just do. And it's interesting, like Pinterest. See, and then like I said, sixth grade. It's right there.
But I need to, you know,
I'm doing this right now. So it's my arts. And then I did drawing and I guess gluing the yarn.
And just these are all mine. And they get help.
No, they're just drawing, they're on cardstock and they just do a picture. And that's really like gluing the yarn to make the designs.
And you're giving them you're taking one away from the just like it's on the but then they use like
Yeah, and they use those points, they set up the nature and they look at on
and they start with basic
Why just did this?
every aspect of
They
it.
did, newspaper. And then they used construction people to make that outside, and then
And there's two videos, it's really there's a guy that does a videos.
and this was, And so that's good for illustration. And you can spend your points. They have a he's got so
well, that was part of it. And then it's like that. It's being so fast in the English language. So the piece that I decided I want to do is the so it's like I did it with my parents last year. It was like the one, so we did the background. What I did was I used the background. And I had them cut it like you put foam core in between the layers of the and then we did the background, we did the word, and then the like the band or like the thing. I had the word. I like. There's another she does elementary. I don't want to say something, but she's on the stage. She has CASSIE. She's awesome. Has a personal blog and I've gotten so many good ideas from her. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I got my spelling idea from.
From her?
No, from Pinterest.
From Pinterest?
I already,
She has a ton of stuff. She has like a lexicon of classes. Like she did this Halloween bingo where they got neon.
I've already tried, I worked in
watercolor. And he's like,
There's also a college, E-E-N or something.
and she has a YouTube too.
My master's. Yeah.
She like posts and for my background and stuff too, so I just
and did you? Okay. I thought I knew that kind of yeah. Yeah, and that's
I think you look for her person, so you put in, because it took me a minute to do it. Yeah, so every school, I just love when you guys yeah. So I don't all my boards are down. My boards are
See, and you know what? I don't have,
and then I kind of broke them up into line sheets and stuff.
like, I'll tell them like it's one year, and I'll open up my pencils, and so it's what I'm doing, you know, try to introduce, to show them or model, and you know, I'm not going to say you know, and I'll tell them right here, you know, they have Donna Gonzalez. So I have some kids, my students that actually enjoy following me. But you know, it's kind of cool. You can look at your grade level courses. It's
yeah, oh yeah. These are all the ones I used for this week. This is where I got all my lessons from.
We're gonna do this with the value buckets from that one. We do in 5th grade next week. Then take a look at the 4th grade. I did these with my ESS kids and they loved it. That's space negative positive.
Yeah, I did one with,
This is gonna make it
middle school.
I gotta organize my notes.
I don't know my. Yeah.
Those are so cool. Yeah.
And that's kind of, it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
It was kind of, yeah, it's like you just have to be organized and you have to make sure you realize where you're coming from. You know? That was a lot of fun.
Check this one out the next. It's the restaurant. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I know it's but I used to modify it to have like the basic shapes. The kids love so. This is what I do with the hot glue. Let them do the hot glue. Yeah, the one now?
That was so awesome. And then that took some problem solving, you know, because hard to control. So you have to scratch that up. So then we did like the toothpicks. We used toothpicks, so we used the edge side. Toothpicks, Q-tips, and the end of a pencil, and that was cool.
We did something like that. I got stabbed last year in one of the plants. That's why I loved it.
All right, we're gonna try to get to the stage.
Well, yeah, I can do like
So you said Picasso?
Oh, it was Picasso Paris. And they look awesome. I just want to say I could probably do it with this recipe. I'd have to have some, maybe some skill, like ways of doing it. But then if it's cubism, it's not so intent or
Well, my guys, when we come back,
Yeah, I tried it. Skills last year.
So, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back here at 2:10. We're gonna look into Unit 3, because in scope and sequence, this is where we're hitting next, right? Our quarter's about ready to go. We're gonna get into Unit 3. I'm working on getting all that into Rubicon. We don't need Rubicon for today, but I'm working on it. I got K through 5 done, so now I've got to get 6 through high school and Rubicon. But we're gonna be planning that unit today. When you come back, you should probably be sitting next to somebody who is of your level. Okay? Because I find that if we work in pairs, we work faster, because we can bounce ideas. Something I learned in the music PD this morning is that if I just give you instructions and let you go, it's not efficient use of your time, because then I'm bouncing around answering the same question a lot of times. And because we're going through a whole new kind of instructional shift in the way that we think and the way that we plan, I think that it might be beneficial if we do it together. So that when we have those questions, we can bring it up. Because we all stayed about the same level in the music, but we're all asking the same questions. Okay? So when we come back at 2:10, be ready to start. We're going to go through the unit planning process that I outlined in the August PD. And talk a little bit about that process and why that's important, and have all this kind of front end plan done for your sanity, right? So 10-minute break, be back at 2.
Brace yourselves.
So actually,
That's not all changed.
so I created our favorite context. I so that would be 4.
Yeah.
There were 7, 7.
Yeah.
8, 8.
So we have to. So okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of sections.
Okay,
I've
so
also got that lesson plan that I used to use, that I use now again. It's like a unit plan.
okay.
And my primary focus on that.
Nice. Hey, integration, right? You just incorporated music. Okay, so shared art, and that should pop up right here. That's you. So that I would, let's see, I can share. Oh, I can share. Okay, so I would say visual arts elementary. And then we can add a note. So sample units, unit plans. Thanks. I got the recipe on Food Network. When I was trying over the summer to be like a cupcake. Yeah, I'm getting there. It's taking me some. Well, I figured, I said, if I'm going to become a cupcake guru, I need to go figure out where to go for that. I was like, what better place to go than Cupcake Wars? So I found all the recipes on Cupcake Wars, and I just like picked one. Oh, amazed, like. So use and enjoy, add units, add. Is that enough exclamation marks to show excitement? I like the exclamation mark. I think women totally overuse the exclamation mark, but that's how we smile. Yeah, and men do not. Do you use the exclamation mark a lot when you type? Yeah, see, women do because typically because we're like, yay, we're so happy and excited about this, and then we're like, yeah, just do it.
Type of what? Type of what?
Like if you're, it depends. Like on any emails, I always put exclamation point. See you next week! Exclamation, because I just don't want to be like, see you next week. You know,
Well,
right?
I use a small facial eye though.
So that way they're not.
No, not off the top, but whatever the 2 weeks or break is 2 weeks out. So that Monday will be the start, and then the Friday will be the end.
I can't do it. I can't do it after. They are right now. And I've got I can probably do it now. And then you can go.
She's doing it. And whatever the picture is, you color it, however it shows up in the house. And then you take your iPad and you download the application.
Me and I are gonna go to a vintage.
The vintage market? Yeah, I saw my friends
Today and tomorrow. So I begin my house. To my hair. She's gonna take care of the mama's hair. And then we're gonna do that.
Like the way you write, I know, like,
She's trying to do it now. And that's because
and so they have
today was something happened. I just was like, tears.
yeah, that's something that but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Because I have, we don't have that.
We feel like I live in a glass case.
But I want to work with it. I want to do something.
when my grandma passed was
So I'm thinking, yeah.
and then
That's what I
See, she missed her.
What I do, like, I will look at it and then, like, I will figure out how to.
Take my shot.
Right. Yeah, I am doing one lesson that I've been doing that really. I had a really good one. Like just
something like that. My grandmother on my dad's side, she was in the hospital. She was in the hospice. And she fell down. She's 80 something. My grandmother was a teacher for District 70. And she was at the ELL in the 70s. She worked with my kids. She ended up getting spinal meningitis. And she almost passed away and recovered, but she had all kinds of problems after that. So she's like 80 something. And she had fallen. Her and my grandpa are so similar. She had fallen and then she was on pain meds. So we were in the hospice and we thought she had a stroke, but it wasn't. Because everyone was like, the whole family was like, but she was recovered pretty well. So we had her in there about 6 months.
See, and that's what I am. She was
Yeah. My dad,
she wasn't sick. She was nice.
that's like, at least, it wasn't painful or anywhere, yeah.
But I think there were some things going on before.
Yeah, my brother.
So I'm really, and then she only has one kid. Which is she had to make that. Yeah, so. But it was from birth. So we still had Yeah. A little bit, a desk against the furniture, because it was just top level. I'm looking, I'm thinking. That was only 3 years. And she's got a new house, which was a house. And then she's got. Oh, cool. Awesome. I'll put that one in there. She bought the second one. Wall, 1-bedroom house. And that 1-bedroom house basically turned into a storage. So seriously, so that no, they're not going to this much. Sitting in my style because whether you know when you're getting, they just scale it across the top. That's crazy. Yeah. And I still had them. Oh, yeah. Are you serious? Where do you want my dad doing that? Because he does like, well, you know what I think my dad was an actor. He's been about 36 years. That's what I would think about my dad because he gets, he and my sister, she met her husband and herself. And then my sister was a silly person. So she yeah, and then she's got all of this emotional attachment stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, we're there to make for yourself. Yeah. She was talking about want to say that's the it's not like she's talking about so I just like one time. So I myself and I really had to is this important to you? And then the consequences, she's never talked to me. Drawing and doing drawing like all like and with a clean house, clean video, you know, and I just story. I can see it from the she was good friend. She did all the she took care of it. She did everything. But she did my nephew wasn't here. He's 23 and school. And so they did. So I was taking all my video and she made a meal and everything. That's exactly what I told her, oh, you know, oh, yeah, exactly. And so then the next day, she's like, oh, yeah, they're going to come out. What did they tell you? Because I didn't know, because I'm at work.
everything is online, and it's just
So you need to take me to Lowe's on Saturday, so that we can go buy.
everything already.
Okay. You know. So that's grocery shopping and lunch.
Times how many teachers are.
And she said, wasn't very mobile. She had a other. So it's like, freezer. All the way in that corner over there. So
That's a good idea. Or even if I have the access.
I looked around, I found the school.
See, I tried to
There's a chair.
do
Found a chair, and I sat in it. So we sat there for about 20 minutes and let her rest. The salesperson comes up and is like,
and now they're
I'll
like.
put it right back, right back.
I don't.
So then she got up and walked all the way down to my feet behind the kitchen. So that's looking for another chair.
All right, so let's come back together. So we're gonna get into the meat of this today. So thinking about the data that you had this morning, some of the technology apps that are now available to you, think about that as we're starting to plan our units. Now, this unit planning process is something that is research-based. It's a good idea to follow, and it's a lot of work, I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot of work on the front end. But if you can get this plan on the front end, then as you're going through the unit, you've got a unit 4.5 weeks in advance, where you can spend a lot of time then instead of writing new lesson plans every week. You can instead do a lot of reflection on what worked, what didn't, and doing journal entries and things like that for the next time. You don't want to have to keep reinventing the wheel every year, right?
So the planning process that I went through ended up being like an 8 or 9 or 10 step process. I felt that that was a little too much. So I narrowed it down to 6 steps. And what I'd like to try and do is keep us all together until we start really getting comfortable in this process, to where we can just go and start doing it, right? But the first one, it just takes, like everything else, the first time takes a while, right? So 6 steps, you can find this step. It's in the intranet page. If you go onto aligned instruction, it's the top link at the top. Top link at the top. Yeah. And there's going to be 2 different documents that we're looking through. The unit plan template VA final product. This is where you're going to put all the final product information. This is something that you can send to your administrator when they're wanting plans. If you have a format that your school's saying you have to use in your unit plans, you'll want to use that one, obviously, because principals trump me. So if you don't have a specific, template that your school uses, feel free to use this one. It's a sample, okay? And you can go right in on this one and you can edit it and type right into the document, okay? And then the other one is where we're going to come back to unit planning steps. So this has the steps kind of laid out, especially if you work in PLCs. This would be really good to have in front of you so that we're all doing, on the same page. So we're going to start with step 1, and we're going to work until 3:30. So I'll work as fast as you guys work. And I can tell you that based on observation is as teachers, we overthink things a lot. So we can spend, and we did, we could spend almost the whole time on step 2. That's not what we want to have happen because we don't want to overthink it, okay? And I know that you'll go back, once you have this, you'll go back and tweak more specific as far as based on what materials you may have in your classroom or whatever. But we can make these kind of overarching sort of things that can be used by anybody. So we've got a lot of elementary folks here. If we can quickly just maybe assign some grade levels so we're not all working on the same grade level, That way, when you guys walk out of here, we'll have samples for a bunch of grade levels that you can take back to your school, not just one. So I'm guessing that Lisa and Brian will probably be working together because you guys are our middle school folks. Jennifer and Marissa will be working together. They're our high school folks. Donna, I don't know where you want to live for the rest of the time. You can choose elementary or middle. But if you guys just want to talk, just shout out or something, you guys might work together in threes since you're in threes, or Sophie, if you want to work with Donna, I don't know. Shout out like a grade level so that way we know who's working on what. If there's a particular level that you really want to work with. I've got a third grade over here. Third grade level. We'll do first. Five. Second, first, second, third, fifth. Okay. And you guys can kind of decide, maybe what level you would want to work on. Okay. All right. Small groups. Partners. Step one. This is the easiest step of the whole thing. So using your device, or if you have a notebook, get these things in front of you. Have them accessible. You've got your academic standards for your grade level. These are all on the internet, so you can find these things right there. Have your standards. Pull up your scope and sequence in visual art. That's the curriculum guide. The DOK in the arts, because we don't want to teach everything to DOK 1, otherwise they're just going to be a bunch of art monkeys. Right? Just spit out materials that you tell them to. You want them to think. So have that DOK to give you some examples of what DOK 3 and 4 might look like in your classroom. And then the unit plan template VA for visual arts. Now remember, going back to if your school uses a specific template or you like a template that you already using, don't change it. That's just a standard. Okay? Because you're not turning in things to be formatted, right? Although I would love Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get all of those materials put together. And a good online tool for your classroom, when you say, kids, you've got 5 minutes. Well, I want to do it. Okay, there's your timer. You can follow along, so now that I've got this timer up, you can put in your unit planning steps. You can open up that PowerPoint too.
So we're going to go to current standards.
Would it help if this wasn't full screen? So here's your list. Here's your list. Just have all those things so you can refer to them.
Sorry, we have to set up our kind of distance, whatever. But sometimes, this is how I do it. I do like, oh, I sure I do. Well, we just,
What else do you look for?
and it's, we are, you just reach your level. Sounds like it's fine, I actually, like, you know, I haven't done one yet for you. I have kind of. And I like how I see, I just put just a little, this is introduction, and I'm already finding when there's a lot of stuff that work. So that's what I'm still kind of looking at. So that's not still working on, so I haven't actually written like it to yet. I'm still just yeah, and so I've got my content, my sense of vocabulary, skills and concepts, and my which are my activities. And so I did more work to define the lines of concept. And so then that's how I did it. So, and then I put, those are all my activities I was going to do, and I put all my modifications. And then that's my 2 pages for I do about the same thing with kindergarten to get easier for preschoolers maybe. And so then that's my 2 pages for kindergarten, and then I go first. And then what I do is I just put these headings, and then I do my section down and just my skills and concepts, and just copy over. You know, and so some of it was just and my so then I was just and you're really rushing it. So I'm already. And I still want to we played the videos of jazz music and showed us pictures. I'm like, you know, just like, and then I gave the kids black strips.
Okay, so elementary folks, right now, you got it? Okay, how was our comfort level with step 1? We good? All right.
Step 2. That's a little
So what I want you to do, take a look at your scope and sequence. Take a look at your scope and sequence for what we're going to do is we're designing with the end in mind. So we're doing some backward design. So in the district scope and sequence, sounds like everybody found it. But for visual art, you are on feeling art, and feelings of art is where most of you are living, because we're doing unit 3.
So find your grade level, and you'll see that elementary, most of it is texture and emotions. There are a couple grade levels at more than that. So if you have one of those grade levels, please note that. Middle school, texture, emotion. What did you guys decide? What grade level? Or level 1, 2, 3? Okay. But do you have them ability based or no? So let's stick with beginning. Let's stick with beginning. Let's do beginning. So color theory, and then high school. Texture, explicit feelings and implied feelings. So here's your task in step 2. So you have it in front of you. You know what you're supposed to be teaching. So what you're going to develop now is at the end of this 4.5 weeks, what are they going to give you? This is called a summative assessment. This is something that really data should be collected on. So this is something that goes with it. Not everything goes in the grade book. We know that. We do lots of formative assessment and everything that does not go in the grade book. But something needs to go in the grade book because, quite frankly, we're accountable for that. So, what is the thing that they are giving you under the so art, reflection, critique, that's you, I am here, is your classroom. Develop that common assessment. Remember, a common assessment, a collective assessment, according to the state, is that 2 teachers are administering the same assessment. So, Sarah and Hannah are together. If they create this assessment and they use it together, guess what? They're going to collect it. Okay, so just FYI. So you're going to get a rough template to help you create this assessment. The assessment should be, so the top here is kind of your planning. This assessment prompt, if you came to the August meeting, you're familiar. This is student-friendly language now. Okay? So, it needs to be something that's engaging and that kids want to grab onto, that they're excited about. So I had some samples put in from quarter 1 from the last one. But it's like, give them a job. You are an artist that has been hired to paint a mural at the Pueblo Arts Alliance. It must include, and that's what you can put in your stuff. We're like, if you have a theme, what does your theme have to be? I know a lot of people are doing Day of the Dead stuff right now. Okay? If we were in that time frame for this unit, it could be something about that it needs to symbolize Day of the Dead, or whatever theme or not. It's really up to you as the teacher, right? But make it an engaging prompt for kids. And that's what this top piece helps you do. So the role, it's RAFT, right? RAFT. The role is what role the students are going to take. So who are they? Are they a student? Are they a teacher? Are they an artist? Are they a broadcaster? Are they a scientist? I don't know, whatever, right? Think outside the box. We're really good at that in here, right? A is your audience, so who are you delivering this material to? So in that example that I gave you, their audience is really who hired the Pueblo Arts Alliance. So that's who the audience is going to be. And you can even have your classmates be the Pueblo Arts Alliance, or if it's a competition, they could be the judges or whatever. So who is the audience of what they're presenting this to? The format, how do you want it? Is it a painting? Is it a drawing? Is it a mural? Is it a collage? Is it a whatever you choose, right? Digital piece of art, whatever. And then what is the topic? And then when you get all these little boxes filled out, then you can put it together, combine them all together into one prompt down here. And I like having these back because I put them in as sample assessments in Rubicon. So if somebody's like, well, I just really need an idea,
they can at least use your idea, and if they want to use it as is, great, if not, that might spark another idea you need to do it a different way. Okay? People get hung up on this because we overthink it. So I'm going to put a time limit on this. I'm going to say 15 minutes. Okay? And I'll give you guys one of these and I'll set the timer and you're off. Create a cool summative assessment. I need to make a couple more copies. So Sophie and Marissa, I need to make more copies, so I'll get those right to you.
I tried.
Okay, so it's, and so I took it as a three, and I can tell you that my class right now. And then so that's, you know, so what does this tell us about it? You know, and then they were from, they had this knowledge about this stuff. This is
You would have to.
sundial. This is a sundial, so they're not going out. This is teaching of the
I'm sure they're not presenting, so yeah, I know we're stage right Yes, I started a lot.
Yeah. Oh, Vengo. I was doing.
Yes,
I was and we were
yeah, so we gotta figure out. We gotta do this.
See, I have, my, and so I just my first day, 4 days, I get that, and I just,
You must have good source.
yeah. So anyways, what was going on? Stories.
I went
They were together.
When the customer is storage.
So I think I should do my. So that's
Right, that's why it's, yeah. Yeah.
For this one, yeah, I would say that's the rest of
Your mission.
I was looking at I have
Same next to my storage.
So what?
Like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I know that was right.
Right, you know, right, so, all this is that's really hard
Right. Or maybe it's
weeks.
you know what I mean? Much better.
Makes it feel it's like, I want that. Private, how to use it.
So audience for the kids will be the customers.
That's not all the little audience.
How are you doing over here? Memorialize. You know, you're gonna be empathetic. How are you doing? Are you okay? We're still trying to think of so what did you guys talk about here?
So I know you got to talk about like that.
That's what we've already done.
Okay, so what are you guys doing in 6? Is it just texture and motion? Or is it color theory? No, I mean, not open secrets. What does it say through? So at the end of this unit, what would you like them to look at that you can grade, that shows that they know those things? What would it be? And I don't know, I'm asking.
Now, is this just us, or is
Yeah.
it just, okay?
Yeah, so what would you, I mean, if you're sitting here by yourself and you're in your classroom and you're planning, and you're like, okay, I gotta come up with some project, what would it be? What would you do?
For that, we usually do like just watercolors, color theory. And there's like different things you can do with the like color exploration, different techniques. Seeing yourself using different techniques.
And the texture fit in with that? So they're painting. Okay, so you're
So
subject,
it fits in with the techniques, yeah.
so you're overthinking, because make it a painting. They're gonna be required to come up with ideas.
Yeah.
What's it for? Because before, we said, draw me, paint me a painting. So why would they do that? And that's where you guys can be creative that time. Why would they even do that? Maybe they were, yeah, like I always go that you were hired by this. That's easy for me to just pop out. But what could you use where when you say, here's your task, here's your mission, if you choose to accept it, they're gonna be like, oh, this looks like it's really that's what I'm trying to get. You know your kids better than anyone. What are they into? What are they into? I don't know. What is it? What is it?
Now, things that we don't want.
Are they in the video game? Do they? So how do you I think in 7th grade, yeah, I think fantasy is 7th grade. So if you want to do street art, that's okay. So is it a landscape that you learn with them? What exactly do you have?
Usually it's with monochromatic or scheme. Either that or just
So decide maybe what that is, and then have them, but they were hired by, to paint over some graffiti. Now it becomes real to them, right? To paint over graffiti with murals that display texture. And they have to present it to the city council. There's your audience.
But so maybe they'll.
Well, you have to explain that, but they're really not gonna present it in front of city council, this is the assessment, but maybe the class is the city council. So you can say, as it's classmates, when you're presenting the piece, yeah, city council, that gets your other class. They're outside. Maybe they vote on it. But yes, I mean, that's all you have to do is assess it. You're not just going to the city council.
Yeah.
This is the scenario that you, as an artist get asked to do these kind of things. So, but you a role play situation.
Well, it's like when I do my slideshow, Christmas like evening. You put on an actual slideshow for the band.
So I know it's real, right? So see if you can get something down that way. You got stuff? So just like it, because we're running out of time. Maybe jot down just like a basic outline. It doesn't have Okay, before we move on to step 3. Okay, so before we move on to step 3, and I know that some of you don't have it written out completely yet, and that's okay. Can we just go around, if you don't have it written out, just kind of explain where your thought process is going? So I would just love to hear the prompt. Okay, so we can get a feel for how we're all thinking. And just a quick disclaimer, Kendra and Andy, they moved ahead to Unit 4 because they already had some stuff for Unit 3 already planned. So theirs is going to be on self-portrait, okay? And since I called you guys out, yeah, but why don't you guys go first? Yeah, it's connecting it. It's connecting Unit 3 to Unit 4. Okay.
Larry, first. So we said that you just want to try the school carnival that haven't opened it yet. You open it and it's a gigantic real spider. It's wrenching. Draw a self-portrait of the way it makes you feel. Include all the details of your face, head to shoulder.
That's yeah. And now they're not all looking the same, right? The kids get to kind of make a choice on how they get to show their personality. And
Cindy had given us the idea of the spider. We were trying to.
And is that appropriate first grade?
Yeah.
Just getting excited about this project. It changes the tone of the classroom. Instead of you standing up saying, by the end of this unit, you will be able to draw a self-portrait. Six-year-olds are going to be like, okay, right? But I mean, they're engaged, right? Now they're hooked. Okay. Sarah and Hannah. Grade? What grade level?
Second. We did 2 different. So one is your what colors and patterns would you wear? Oh. On your tie or something. On your tie or what your tie would look like to get there. And then the second one is you are a person who can't talk and they're trying to show your friend how you're feeling. What colors would you use? Example in red and
Fantastic. And how relevant is that first one right now? Kids will get it because even though they're in second grade, they watch TV and they, that presidential thing is splattered everywhere right now. So it's something they can relate to. And thinking about the nonverbal, we have kids that are nonverbal, right? So this may be a chance for them to really shine also. Nice work. Third grade? We'll just keep going in grade level order.
You are a designer, and you will be making a quilt pattern to sell to a large company to produce your quilt. You will create a tessellation and then repeat this pattern into a full quilt design using MC Escher as your inspiration.
Hey, so we pulled in that artist to cover, right? MC is one of the third grade artists to cover. Yeah, thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah, nice work. Right. How fun. And I mean, even think about the extensions for learning there. What if you took everybody's quilts there and put it together to make one big quilt and actually had it made? I don't know. Probably would. Okay, fifth grade.
You've been hired by a pet owner who would like 3 different portraits of their pets. One needs to be monochromatic, one needs to be, and I can never say this word, innocuous. And one needs to be in complementary colors.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, 5th grade. So we would have like just pictures of animals, or Donna said calendars too. Just give them a picture and they have to use that one as their pet.
Absolutely.
So fish, birds.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all different too.
And they have to do it in their colors.
Yeah, 3 different ones.
3 different. And can you imagine what would happen if a principal or something walked in your room and asked the students what assessment they were working on, and they used words like monochromatic and bonus points for you, right? And that could even be adjusted too, where maybe they bring a picture of their own pet in, and they get to do different portraits of their own pets or somebody else's pet, like.
Yeah, like
Switch them up.
Yeah, because I'm fun. Okay, middle school. So we beginning level, because they both have mixed ability classes, grades 6 through 8. So it's whoever just gets thrown into the class is who they have. So
we didn't come up with one.
but you guys were heading somewhere, right? So where were you heading?
Either from your mural or for a presentation for a concert.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Christmas theme, putting a picture together and on display for a slideshow.
And that's what Brian does. And then Lisa was talking about too that her kids are really into street art. So we talked about turning that kind of an idea into something more of like being hired to paint a mural or something for the city, cover up maybe some graffiti, and to create something beautiful.
What I did in my classroom for middle school is we did, I talked about the Denver Chalk Festival and how they did the murals on the ground, and they did the gridding so they could get the murals on them. So that's kind of the same as far as community art is concerned.
Okay, high school.
Because we did it as a seventh assessment.
Okay.
And so it was just open teacher. Format was written global. The format was texture and art, so we would project visual images.
So what is the product that they're Mhm. So it's like a critique or an evaluation reflection on that?
Yeah.
She's got it up on her iPad if you guys want to.
Cool. How you feel? Yeah. How, you know, I mean, especially with pottery, then it's like, touching, okay, so a visual of how you feel, how it makes you feel.
I like that element in there too, because pottery is all about touch and feel anyway. So to put emotion with that is really, really cool. Okay, so you have your assessment. So now we have to figure out how we're going to get the kids there. So that way, by the time you get there, they know what to do. So that's through sequence lessons. That's step 3. I like Post-it notes. I know Jennifer likes Post-it notes, and anybody who is in scope and sequence loves Post-it notes. That's how your scope and sequence was created, by the way, by Post-it. A room full of Post-it. So using Post-its or the material of your choice, you're going to develop kind of some lessons. What are students going to do? I like using Post-its, right? And organize them in a logical, sequential kind of way before you actually get it down. So, so that students can demonstrate mastery during the second to get it. You'll organize them. Now, rule number 3 says what assessment will you use for each lesson? This is a formative assessment. So you may not be collecting. This may not be, you know, you're not going to simply grade it. These are checks to understand. If you collect them, great. If you don't, great. Okay, but how are you checking for understanding? Do you know where you are? So all you're doing is just lessons. What are you going to do to get them there? Think about, it's a 4.5-week unit. Think about how many times you're going to see them in that 4.5 weeks. Think of how many times, how long you're going to need to do that summative, and then how many lessons do you have left over. Because you don't want to do 10 lessons in 4 weeks. So take a little bit of time to figure out the math there, how many class periods you're going to have with them. And I'm going to give you 15 minutes here, because that's probably going to be where we stop, and then I'm going to debrief at 3:20. I'm just going to walk through the final steps.
Right.
So my favorite is like this is like in my school. Yeah, we have a different. This is like this is my school. This is it's 4 foot by 4 foot, and then yeah. The sticky is like this. It's only 4 foot by 4. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this out. Because you gotta make it 48. I think I make 48. And then it's a one day in my group, he said,
So
and I'm gonna project to you. So what I'm doing like this, we're so each pathway then you count it just out. I'm projecting, nope, I'm projecting. I'm going to do the outlines, and then my kids that's Yeah, whenever somebody says, "Oh, I didn't give shades," so that means, yeah.
Like a the unit plan template. So it's in here. If you go into the arts page, and it's under aligned instruction, and you could. My computer, I think, is tired of working. It's the unit plan template, VA, and you can go in and click and enter text right into it. Once you download it, you can open it up in Word and type it.
Gee, a lot of areas.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah, it's not an easy or timely task. So.
Okay, and then we should have
Was in a grant for it last year and only wanted one, so I can see if she was one of them, because if she is, then you should have one. Oh, so we'll see. Grant, and if not, your media center might have one that you can check out. But so you can tell my computer's kind of like, okay, let's see. These are all the teachers. Diana had one, so she should have one that belongs to art. Okay. Yeah, it belongs to art, not to your media center. It was awarded to the art program.
Yeah, because that's simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let them know when they moved or something. Maybe somebody was like, "Ooh, a document camera." You never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be tagged somewhere.
Well, she was.
They're really good.
I'm proud of those. Those are my go-tos right now. That's the most success I've ever had. Probably not good if you're diabetic.
So maybe their initials. They're going to right there. Initials. And then they have to do. So it would be a bit of
Let's go to the Cupcake Wars recipe.
And I see you're not eating one?
No, because I have a feeling I'm gonna start taking all of them. I'll eat the ones that you all don't eat.
If you went to buy at my house, you can take most of that from your mom or whatever. I've learned. You can eat a piece of chicken without eating whatever it is. Yeah. So that's one of the.
Oh my God.
You can do it in complimentary, that would be cool. So you can choose two complimentary lunch for the back. So it's like that. Let's do
You can put them right on that unit.
Now we need a negative. So the letters will be
You have 4 minutes left, but I just want to feel really technology. You can open that unit plan template. That way, and then you can share it with me and your partner. You guys can be adding stuff to it. Right? So just a quick tip.
Something like this is kind of fun. We could do it in collage too. Like a magazine collage. That tertiary in between. So it's like a primary class, and then pick a angle spectrum either one of the secondaries that they like. So if they choose red, they can do their like go to purple.
Anywhere just give it where that was.
So they can use those actions, right? So then you pick a color.
Yeah.
Find a secondary. Okay.
Right.
Oh, look at that one. So red.
Some of my kids are most of them. There's a couple of ones that read I'll see what and one more, but I can't. I have to base it. So those are things that
You can open it.
Like you could share, but I don't have stuff.
You guys can add stuff to it without having to.
Add stuff in there. I'm like, I always do this. I don't want to do all these things. So I really shoot to this elements of art. They it's right back but
They love Lexi. And here's the thing that I have to Lexi, and then it's their all 7 minutes. All the way, like 7 minutes. And if you look at the conversation, it's all the different things. And
It's good and Regulus.
I know. And one of them starts like,
Monty, it's on YouTube, Monty, I love it. Monty, that's Monty. And he's the one, she likes to paint and she likes to do artwork. She's always doing something like that. She's talking about, I'm gonna paint the ships and some of that. And that's what we do, and I see that he's not good. And she's like, no, you're doing that not. And I think he's asking every time he sees it. And they start talking about painting and stuff. So he's asking, and he knows exactly what to wear. And so that color and the this and some of my kids I see 4 times a week. In 4 weeks I see 5 times. Other ones I see 5 times.
Right. Okay, so we're out of, we're gonna stop there as far as the process goes. But really, if you finished through step 3, the big work has been done. Right? That's the big chunk of the work. That's where all your thought goes into, is the assessment and the lessons. From here, now we start thinking about the how it's going to happen. When you're planning this out, step 4 talks about what research-based methods and instructional strategies are you going to use. So you need to decide how you're going to get this information out to your students. What's the most efficient way? You want to use something that's research-based, because you don't want to just keep spinning your wheels saying, well, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. Well, why didn't it work? So I have a link to John Hattie's research, and he has gone through instructional strategies, every instructional strategy you can think of, and he's researched it and said how effective it is in his research. So you can go and see, some of his top high-yield instructional strategies. I have 2 of his books. They are really boring and really dry, but if you are wanting to see some of the research on that, let me know. Just come and borrow it. I don't mind. I brought them in case somebody wants to look at them. So definitely go through, and there's a spot in that template for you to document how you're going to do it. Is it going to be through a direct lesson? Are you going to be doing collaborative learning, cooperative learning, feedback, reflection? They have all sorts of research strategies that you can use on here, and the website's more user-friendly. It's not so research data heavy. I think they're in the appendix, so you'll see. After you figure out how you're going to do it, step 5 is all about the technology you might need for that unit. This is helpful to plan on the front end, because you are more, if you have to get technology from your media center because you don't have your own in your classroom, which is many of you, it's helpful if you come to them 4.5 weeks in advance and reserve these things and saying, can I have a set of Chrome cards this afternoon? Right? So this gives you kind of that thought of, well, what am I going to need for this? So that way you can plan ahead. And then there's a spot for this in the unit plan. Step 6, and now my computer's not moving. Step 6 is modifications. So what are you going to do so that all students learn this? And think about that we did the assessment, the summative, and the lessons before we did modification. Why? Because all students can do that assessment. That's what we're coming to the table with. Is all students are going to be able to do this. Whether they are the lowest kid of the low as far as reading or whatever, but how they produce this, that's the key to the modification. You're not dumbing down the expectations for those low kids. They're just going to show it to you in a different way. So be thinking about how those modifications might look throughout each of your lessons. And don't ignore, when you think modifications, don't forget the little smarty pants that are going to learn it in 5 minutes and then be bored and a problem the rest of the hour because they're done. So what can you do for them? So that way they are getting extension. These are your met and your exceeded kids. How do we get them to grow? Maybe they're using technology. Maybe instead of doing it one way, they're making a movie out of it or something. Instead of a painting, they can do a Windows Movie Maker or something. I mean.
So this template gets ones to open and share.
Yeah, so you can share that with me, share that with your partner. I like having those samples because then it's something I can put out as a resource for other teachers so that we're not always just reinventing the wheel. We can use each other's, we can collaborate and do some really good work without having to redo a lot of stuff. So my computer's frozen. I had step 7 because my step 7 is my Sister Mary Sunshine. After you're done with all that, you can celebrate and share it with your administrator, and then keep a journal and reflect on what worked and what didn't work. Okay? With that said, our next monthly PD is November 11th. What I would like to do is spend some time reflecting on, did this work? You know, what worked for you, what didn't work for you? Reflect on pride and patriotism and how that went. We're trying something new. Thank you for, being nice to me about that. And talk about, do we like that? How can we make it better? Or do we want to go back to the art contest? So that's the kind of questions I'm going to be asking you guys on the 11th, so we know what to do for next year. Other than that, we'll talk about the school city. We'll just remind everybody of the window because that'll be coming up. It'll start early December. Are there any questions while you're here? It is. It's the same test. The question I always get is not just school city but it starts with, do we have to? I never require anything because I can't. What I can say though is that doing the middle of the year will give you a good growth data, because if you wait until end of year, what happens if they didn't grow? Now they're gone. They're off to another grade. So to have that middle of the year might be really good data for you to say, okay, this is still really not going well, or good feedback for you of, hey, I tried to hit the standard hard and look at how much my kids grew. Yay for me.
Well, my only concern with doing it in December is that they have, ELA to do and have to do as well.
January is also the window.
Okay, because I think the window needs to be open longer, because trying to fit in, I don't like testing kids when they can all day long.
Right. Right. So our window's going to go from 2 weeks before break to 2 weeks after break. I can make it longer. I can make it. How about from the beginning of December to the end of January?
Great.
I can do that.
So that's the next thing I think we have the opportunity to do that.
Until somebody says mandatory, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, I thought it was. I started.
Highly encouraged. highly encouraged. I will never say required because stand by union if I say required anything. So I don't say required anything. If I feel like it's important, I will highly encourage. So that's kind of where that's where I sit. Is I can't,
And I don't have the. Yeah, we had talked about possibly making it required if the price was different this time. Is when last year when we were talking, there were talks last year of making a required collective, and that's what's on assessment. But they changed that whole time this year. So now it looks different from what we thought. Other than that, thank you so much for coming. Take home some cupcakes and donuts. And have a great weekend. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for the document, Cameron, by the way. It is awesome.
Oh, good.
Was just here for the grading in 7th grade. And income.